What's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about the 2022 Polaris General XP4 1000 Pursuit Edition. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, what I do like, what I don't like, some of the ins and outs, the pros and cons, and some of the functionality of this machine. Stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the video. All right, so this is a 2022 Polaris General XP4 1000 Pursuit Edition. They are kind of rare. You cannot order a Pursuit Edition on Polaris's website currently. So this is a kind of a unique opportunity to see a Pursuit Edition. The Pursuit, I really like the way they did the camo on it. There is not a lot. It has a very, very nice touch to it with the minimalist kind of style to it. I've really enjoyed this machine, so let's dive into this video. So first off, right out of the gate, I picked this thing up in May of 2022. I had ordered it in October of 2021, so it took a little while for it to come in. Once it did come in and we were able to actually go and pick it up, we ordered it from Jones PowerSports in Durant, Oklahoma. This is my second machine that I've bought from them, and I have thoroughly enjoyed the experience from Jones. So shout out to Jones PowerSports in Durant, Oklahoma. So let's dive into this machine a little bit, and we'll talk about some of the things that I've had to work on, just the overall maintenance, a few other little odds and ends. First off, let's start with the doors. I do like the doors. Coming from a Polaris Ranger and going into a General, obviously Ranger 900 that I had didn't have doors, so getting in and out is a little bit more tedious. Now they have the doors. Granted, you can take them off. It's only 2 bolts. Super simple. The doors, in my opinion, are a pretty decent quality. They're really not bad. They do block a lot of the wind, the mud, and the crap while you're out and about in the field. So I don't have really any complaints as far as that is concerned. The rear doors being suicide, I kind of wish they were set up a little bit like normal doors, but for the rear passengers, it's really not that big of a deal. We do a lot of hunting, a lot of pig hunting, different stuff out of this machine. So for the guys to be able to shoot up and over the doors and hang their weapons out, it works pretty well for them. Let's talk about the adjustment. I do wish, this is one of the annoyances that I wish could be a little better, is that I wish it had a door handle on the outside. That would make it a little nicer. One thing that I had to do right out of the gate was adjust a little bit of the slop that was in the doors, meaning that when they were fully closed, they would shake a little bit or have a touch of a rattle to them, stuff like that. Now that one's fully locked up. They had a little bit of a rattle or little noises, and I didn't particularly like. So I went through and adjusted the little latch mechanism here. All I had to do was put a couple of spacers, i.e. washers, underneath them, and that took the majority of the slop and play out of the doors. And I did that all the way around the machine. So it wasn't too bad. And I mean, a few cents in washers, and that alleviated the issues. The front ones, I just had to loosen a couple of the bolts, slide them over a little bit, and that tightened the front doors up. Once again, not a major issue, super easy to deal with. Can't really have many complaints there. Let's talk about the overall driver cabin and the feel within this machine. So with the doors closed, sitting in here, do a little adjustment here. This is what you're going to see coming from this machine, how it looks. And as far as the cabin is concerned, I really have enjoyed the little creature comforts, the cup holders, the power outlets that are inside of here. There's more power outlets inside here. They're just everywhere. There's another one down right here. This one was actually slated to not come with the ride command, and because I had waited so long, Polaris ended up upgrading it, and it did come with the ride command. So GPS unit is mounted up here. Super nice touch. It was supposed to come with the the rack on the back of it, but I can live with a ride command over the rack. I can always build a rack. Not a big deal. Let's talk about the roof. This has been the good and the bad of it, the annoyance coming from it. Driving down the road, these contact points here and here, you get a little bit of a pop with a stock roof without any adjustments, anything in there. What I did is I took a little bit of 3M foam tape, put up there on those contact points. I actually ran it all the way across just to help deaden a little bit of the noise from any pops or creaks. And that took the popping noise straight out of it. So really easy to deal with there. The mirrors, I believe I ordered these from Super UTV. I think it's who they came from. And let's talk Super UTV. Really hoping they come out with their CV version of their drive shaft for this machine, because I'd really like to see that. So let's go, Super UTV. Counting on you. The dash and the gauges, I really have enjoyed so far. See if we can get a decent view without said camera being in the background here. Maybe, maybe not. Overall, the gauges, super simple. Working through the mode, going through the mode button, working through the Polaris ride command system is super, super easy. With this machine, I mean, you can go to the phones, you can go to just about anything you want to and get anywhere you want to. Not going to complain. One little touch I do like is the little underglow lights that they put in here. There's 3 of them inside the cab. And the downside to this is that there are front accent lights and these 2 lights inside the machine. And if somebody who is smarter than me has figured out how to turn them off, please let me know, because I have not figured out how to shut them off from in here yet. So going to start looking at adding a external switch. As I said, the accent lights on the front, same issue. So you can see they're actually still on right now, and they just turned off. So while you're driving around at night, if you're not using the headlights, if you're driving on night vision and or using thermals, that can be a little bit of a nuisance because you cannot turn it off. At least I haven't figured out how to do it. So if somebody knows how to do it, please let me know once again. This machine, I went through the county tax assessor, got my license plate for it, so I can drive it around here legally on the roads, per the Texas law, which is kind of a nice touch. Rear seating, rear passenger comfort. I don't have any complaints here. I've sat back here, let other friends of mine drive this thing around. You have the same creature comforts. You have cell phone holders and cup holders right there, along with a storage bin. You have the same power outlets inside the rear storage compartment that you do in the front. So you've got a few different options for charging things, cell phones, running lights, whatever you want to do. Let's talk about the sound system. Sound system is Rockford Fosgate. This unit came with a stage 3, and I am wanting to upgrade it to the stage 4, which mounts a subwoofer underneath the dash from Rockford. I think they're $600 or so. And just to have a little bit more thump while driving down the road. But overall, the sound system has been fantastic for driving around, cruising, hunting, doing what we do. The front seats also adjust. You can adjust the forward and back on them. Simple lever right there. You can slide the seats back and forth. Easy day. Let's talk about the suspension. Walker Evans Racing is what's on this thing on all 4 corners. It comes that way from the factory. I do like the adjustment on them. I do wish they were a little bit more plush. Shock Therapy makes a set of springs that you can mount on this unit that replaces the Walker Evans spring. So if you want to do that, if you want a little bit more plush ride, you can do that. And what it will do is take this spring, I believe it enlarges it a little bit, and you get a little bit more plush ride quality. But overall, the ride is not bad. What I don't like is that there are hardly any grease points on this machine that you can get to. I've looked in several different manuals. It says there's supposed to be 2 up here on the front sway bar, which you can see right here. but the problem is they don't actually exist. So that is one thing I wish we could do different, is have a greasable spot for the sway bar, and the rest of the suspension components on the front are non-greasable, they're non-serviceable. So the only way you can do anything is to pull the suspension apart, put a little bit of grease in them, put it back together, or use something like a dry film spray lubricant. That's what I do mainly, because you do get some squeaks. These rubber bushings that travel up and down the shock bodies, you get a little bit of squeak out of them every now and again. Hit it with a little bit of dry film and there's no issue, but there's no grease points up here. There are a few grease points on the drive shaft, which is a gigantic pain in the butt to get to. So talking about the drive shafts and getting to, well, I guess you could call them a prop shaft, drive shaft, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it a drive shaft because I'm a simpleton. Getting to it is a huge pain in the butt. You either have to disassemble a good chunk of the interior, or you have to drop the skid plate off the bottom of the machine to grease these drive shafts for the U-joints and the slip yokes, whatever they have under there. Can be a huge pain in the butt. So going to work on a little bit better way to get to those. So maybe we'll see something this year, some cutouts or something that I will have accomplished. We will find out though. Rear suspension, super easy. Once again, Walker Evans adjustments right there on the fly, very easy to get to. On the sway bar down here, there are two grease points, grease zerks, one on each side. You can get to grease the rear sway bar. Once again, I haven't found it on the front, so if it's there, I don't know. But anyways, you can get to the rear prop shaft grease zerk right up in here. Spin the unit forward or backwards and you'll find it. But overall, pretty easy to get to. Let's talk about the clutch and the belt system. I like the clutch because you do get some high RPMs. You can get a lot of power out of it right out of the gate if you need to. Downfall, it does not grab very hard when you're in high gear. If you're taking off from a dead stop, you can develop a little bit of belt slip, and the other issues that I've noticed from it are it does get some belt slap. What I mean by that is the belt slap coming from the inside of this here cover, that belt going around the clutches. Whenever you let off the gas and it starts to backshift, that belt starts to expand, and when it does, internally in here, it contacts that breather tube. And I've got some rolled plastic and a little bit of rubber that's floating around in here from the belt slapping. So this thing is going to get a Gilliman clutch. I think I'm going to do their Black Max next week, and we will see if that eliminates it the way they say it does. So stay tuned for that. That'll be probably next week. Let's talk about the exhaust. This is just the standard Polaris factory muffler for this machine. It looks very reminiscent of just a Polaris Ranger 1000 muffler, except for it flows through in the middle instead of a Ranger muffler where the entry is on the top and it flows through that way. What I do like is that it has a decent little tone while you're driving down the roads or on the trails. Problem is you can't really hear your passengers or hear yourself some of the times whenever you're at high RPMs, stuff like that. So it's also going to get a HMF Racing dual loop, and so I will put up a video of that install as soon as it comes in as well. Grease points though, as we were talking about a minute ago, there's really not much. You have the two on the rear sway bar back here and 3 on the drive shaft. That's all I've been able to find so far, and I've had this thing for a while. So let's talk about the front and rear cameras, seeing that we're looking at the rear camera already. I do like having these cameras. It makes hooking a trailer, moving stuff, backing onto your own trailer, however you want to haul it, very easy to do. I really like that touch. The only request I would have is that this camera be aimed outwards just a little bit more, because it is aimed pretty much almost straight down at the hitch. So maybe there will be a little bit of adjustment that I can do at some point with that. Cargo space, as far as the bed is concerned, I like how deep the bed is. Kind of wish that it didn't go from large to narrow, kind of like a trapezoid. I wish it kind of stayed a little bit more in line just to have that squared off space, but that's just one little non-issue. As far as hauling things, taking this thing around, we took it to Colorado on a trip a couple of months ago, and it did perfectly fine. Had a VP can back here, coolers, just assorted junk, and there was no issues. As far as the 1000 engine is concerned, I do like that it has a lot bigger airbox and filter on it. I really like that touch. What I don't like is this bed latch system. So on like a normal Ranger, you can slam the bed down and it'll shut. Can't do that on here, because if you look at points, the bed latch point is past the other point, whatever you want to call this. I don't really care. Dowel pin, however you want to call it. So you've got to do a little bit of wonkiness, shut the bed, and then pull the handle, and then the thing will shut. I wish I could just slam it down. So may have a little bit of adjustment done to that at some point too. Other than that though, the ride quality has been phenomenal. I've had this thing upwards of 70 and 80. It rides extremely smooth. No issues from that. The tires, I know why they did the rear tire and the front tire different. Traction tire, drive tire, get it. No big deals there. The winch is actually pretty stout. I've yanked some trees and brush and shrubs and stuff like that out here at the house with it, and it's yanked stuff out just fine. The four-wheel drive system, I feel like my other Ranger was able to go into four-wheel drive pretty much at whatever speed. Maybe that was just me, but this, you have to have the RPMs, I believe it's below 3,000 or 3,500, somewhere in there, and then it will lock into four-wheel drive. So if you're sitting there hammering on it and you try to go into four-wheel, not going to happen. You do have to have the RPMs down, which is, once again, not a problem if you know how to drive. Other than that, it's been a great machine. Been a lot of fun so far. There's going to be some big things coming up for 2023 and 24. Now that we're in 23, there's going to be some things coming up, little upgrades and updates. And then 2024, we are planning something big. So stay tuned for that. Probably going to take us a year to plan it. But other than that, if you have any questions, please leave it in the comments below, and have a great day, guys.